In a small, bustling village by the banks of the Akbar River, lived a young woman named Akana. She was the third daughter of her family, and although they were not poor, they struggled to make ends meet. Akana was known for her beauty, her kindness, and her fierce determination. She worked hard, helping her parents sell vegetables at the market each morning, and often stayed late into the night, weaving baskets to bring in extra income. Before I continue, welcome to Folktales by IJ. Thank you Besties for 400 subscribers. Please keep watching, liking, subscribing and sharing. Despite Akana's diligence, she often found herself yearning for more. Every day, she would hear stories of people who left the village for the big cities and returned with tales of wealth and luxury. She would sit by the riverbank at dusk, staring into the shimmering waters, whispering her dreams to the river. If only I could be rich, she would sigh. Then I could help my family, and they would never have to struggle again. One evening, as she finished her work and prepared to leave the market, she noticed a stranger watching her from a distance. He was tall, with finely tailored clothes that shimmered under the fading sunlight. His skin was smooth, and his dark eyes held a mysterious glint. When he approached her stall, his presence was so commanding that everyone in the marketplace fell silent. "Good evening," he greeted her, his voice deep and melodic. "Are you Akana?" "Yes," she replied, surprised that he knew her name. "My name is Udoka," he said, bowing slightly. "I have heard of your beauty and your strength. I am looking for a wife, and I believe you are the one I have been searching for." The other vendors at the market gasped, their eyes widening in envy and shock. It was unheard of for a wealthy man, a complete stranger, to propose marriage so boldly. Akana was speechless, her mind whirling. Though she was captivated by Udoka's elegance, something in his gaze seemed strange, almost too intense. "Why me?" she managed to ask, a slight tremor in her voice. Udoka smiled, his gaze never wavering. "I am a man of means and great fortune, but I seek a wife who is not only beautiful but also hardworking and kind. Your name is spoken of across the land for your grace and dedication to your family. If you agree to marry me, I will provide riches beyond your wildest dreams, and your family will want for nothing." Her heart pounded as she listened to his words. The promise of wealth and the freedom from daily struggles was overwhelming. She thought of her parents, their weathered faces etched with lines of worry. She thought of her siblings, who often went to bed hungry. This could be her chance to change everything for them. But Akana was cautious, and she raised her chin, meeting Udoka's gaze. "If what you say is true, then let me meet your family. Let me know where you come from." Udoka's smile flickered, just for a moment, and his eyes darkened. "If you come with me tonight, I will show you everything you need to know. But you must be willing to follow me with complete trust." Against her better judgment, curiosity and desire overcame Akana's caution. She agreed, and as night fell, she followed Udoka beyond the edge of the village, past familiar paths and further than she had ever ventured. The moon rose high above them, casting an eerie glow over the dense forest. Soon, they reached a clearing by the river where the water was still and dark, as if waiting. "We are here," Udoka said softly. "Now, Akana, you must close your eyes." A chill crept up her spine, but she closed her eyes as he instructed. She heard the rush of the river and the strange, rhythmic hissing that sent a shiver through her. Then, the ground beneath her seemed to tremble, and she sensed something cold and smooth brushing against her ankles. "Open your eyes," Udoka's voice commanded. When she opened her eyes, she gasped, stumbling back in horror. Before her was an enormous black serpent, its scales gleaming under the moonlight. It was the length of 3 men, its body coiled in a perfect circle, its head raised and staring straight into her eyes with a golden, unblinking gaze. Akana's hands shook, and she felt her heart pounding like a drum. She wanted to run, to scream, but she was frozen in place, rooted by the serpent's gaze. I am Yudoka, the snake hissed, in the same deep voice she had heard before. I am the spirit of the river, bound to this form, but I hold the power to grant wealth beyond mortal imagination. If you marry me, Akana, all the riches of the river will be yours. But there is a price. Akana's throat went dry. What is the price? Yudoka's golden eyes seemed to soften. You must keep my true form a secret. You cannot tell anyone that your husband is a serpent. If you do, all the wealth I give you will turn to dust, and I will be forced to return to the river forever. Akana felt dizzy, her mind swirling with fear and desire. But the image of her family's struggles flashed in her mind, and she thought of the freedom that wealth could bring. She swallowed her fear and nodded. I accept. With that, Yudoka's serpent form shimmered, and he transformed back into the man who had approached her at the market. He placed a fine, golden necklace around her neck, its center holding a gleaming emerald. Instantly, her clothes transformed into flowing, embroidered silks, and gold bangles appeared on her wrists. The next morning, Akana returned to the village with Yudoka by her side, now her husband. Her family and the villagers were stunned to see her adorned in luxurious clothes, her face glowing with happiness. No one dared question where she had gone or how she had come to marry such a wealthy man, they only whispered in awe, amazed at her sudden transformation. Days turned into weeks, and Akana's life became one of unimaginable luxury. Yudoka showered her family with gifts, from gold coins to baskets filled with rare and delicious fruits. Their hut was replaced by a grand house, the finest in the village, and every day, Akana wore clothes and jewels that dazzled everyone who saw her. But every night, Yudoka would transform back into a serpent. The first time Akana witnessed his transformation, she shuddered, turning her face away as he slithered around their room. She reminded herself of the promise she had made, forcing herself to accept him. As the months passed, she grew accustomed to the sight, though she never fully shook off the unease that came with sharing a bed with a creature of scales and fangs. Then one day, Akana's younger sister, Yuzo, came to visit. Yuzo was bright-eyed, with a curiosity that knew no bounds, and she adored her older sister. She was thrilled to see Akana living in such splendor and couldn't help but ask, "Sister, how did all of this come to be?" Akana hesitated. She could not tell her sister the truth, yet Yuzo's wide, innocent eyes wore down her resolve. Eventually, she said, "My husband, Yudoka, is a very powerful man. He has blessed me with riches because I have kept his secrets." Intrigued by this answer, Yuzo pressed further. "What kind of secrets, sister? Tell me. I promise I won't tell anyone." Akana knew she should hold her tongue, but the weight of her secret was too great to bear alone. Swearing Yuzo to secrecy, she whispered the truth, that Yudoka was not a man, but a serpent bound by magic to the river. She explained that as long as she kept his form a secret, the wealth would continue to flow. Yuzo listened, wide-eyed, but promised to keep her sister's secret safe. Days passed, but the temptation of knowing such a grand secret was too much for Yuzo. She began to gossip, first to a close friend, then to another, and soon the entire village was buzzing with whispers about Akana's husband. One evening, a group of villagers gathered outside Akana's home, their faces shadowed with curiosity and suspicion. They demanded to see Yudoka in his true form, calling out that they wanted to know the source of his mysterious wealth. Inside, Akana's heart sank. She had betrayed Yudoka's trust, and now, she feared, the consequences would be severe. Yudoka appeared before the villagers, his expression calm but his eyes holding a deep sorrow. "You have broken your promise, Akana," he said, his voice filled with disappointment. He looked out at the villagers, who murmured and took cautious steps back. In an instant, Yudoka's body shimmered, and he transformed into his full serpent form, towering over the crowd. His scales shone in the moonlight, and the villagers gasped, retreating in terror. He looked down at Akana one last time. I offered you riches, and I asked only for your trust and secrecy. But now, because of your betrayal, I must leave. With a powerful, sweeping motion of his tail, Udoka slithered back to the river, disappearing beneath the waters. As he vanished, the wealth he had bestowed upon Akana began to crumble. The jewels on her wrists turned to dust, her silk dress faded to rags, and her family's grand house shrank back into the modest hut they once called home. Akana fell to her knees, weeping, her heart heavy with regret. She had lost everything because she could not keep her promise. And from that day on, whenever she walked by the river, she would look into its dark waters, hoping to catch a glimpse of Udoka's golden eyes, but he never returned. Thank you for watching Folktales by IJ. Please share, like and subscribe.